Diane, do you want to give it a few more minutes, or should we? It's
we
2
know?
o'clock, should we?
I guess we can start. Everybody's here, right? Yep.
Good afternoon. My name is Joan Jennings. I'm the chair of the Public Art Committee. It is Wednesday, June 9th, 2021, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we are at the City Hall Performing Arts Center. Marissa, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Ms. Jennings?
Here.
Ms. Gregory?
Here.
Mr. Meals?
Here.
Ms. Robinson?
Here.
Mr. Sallow?
Here.
Mr. Stackhouse?
Here.
We have some guests today from the Girl Scout Ambassador Troop 1142, which, who will be making a presentation. And I guess we have no other guests, virtual or otherwise. Can I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the May 12th, 2021 meeting?
I so move.
Trish, second. Bill? Any comments or corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Motion to accept the minutes is presented. We now have a presentation from Girl Scout Ambassador Troop 1142 for a public art project proposal. Are you ladies good to go? If you'd like to, we could do some other business while you're taking care of that.
It was emailed to him, I'm not sure if he's
Would you prefer to wait? I have no problem.
Go ahead, if you'll, go ahead and do this.
Right, yes, we have some other business. Okay. Oh, no, no problem. The wonders of technology. Okay, the first item of old business is the Tarpon Springs High School mural project at Sunset Beach. That's going to be deferred until the start of the fall semester, and that will be coordinated by Mrs. Fatalitas and the Tarpon Springs Police Chief, Jeff Young. The David Danforth Mural. Diane, am I correct in that as of today, no proposals have been submitted by the artist?
No, we did get information from him. Should be in your packet.
Okay.
He gave a price. You had asked for another quote for using Christopher Still's company that will wrap the walls, and that came in at $2,895, and the artist called in. So you see what his original proposal was there. I think you have 3 pages.
Right, okay, it's all the way at the back.
So basically, what he's saying is the total for that project would be $5,095, because the install is $2,895 and the artwork would be $2,200.
Okay,
So, and then that was the shark that you all had chosen for the
okay.
art.
Diane, could you just tell me the total again?
The total, yes, ma'am, is $5,095.
Okay.
He had mentioned that the installer that he got the quote from, if they were doing multiple walls, there would have been a bigger discount.
Right.
But since it's just one wall now, it's not as large a discount.
Okay. All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to discuss the Danforth mural.
I'll make a motion to
Okay,
discuss.
second?
Second.
Okay. How does everybody feel about this, David?
Well, it's about half the initial cost of all 4, so it seems like it's quite a bit higher.
Right, in your opinion, should we go forward with it, or?
I'm not quite sure. I'd like to hear what the rest of the committee thinks. I
Okay.
did notice the image isn't the full-length Mako that we all kind of agreed on.
Right,
Oh, you could change the image, he said. That's not a problem.
Okay.
And that wouldn't add to any cost
Okay, so we have a selection of images.
for the shark.
Okay. Trish?
Yeah, I think it's a little overpriced, but I know he said that it's cheaper with the bundle.
Right.
I understand that, but I still think it's a little expensive for
Okay.
the
Bill?
one image.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked it came in that expensive, and, you know, as far as a high-profile location over by the cart returns at the golf course, it's not gonna be a wow, you know,
Right.
location. It's gonna clean up possibly the look of the corral around the dumpster a little bit and make it a little nicer looking, but, so, just a little surprised with the price.
Okay. Lucianne?
I'm not in favor of proceeding.
Okay.
I agree with Lucianne, that I'm not in favor of proceeding either. I think just that his ducks weren't in a row and, so to speak, and the shark ate them. But I think it's not a prime place for that kind of expenditure.
Okay. Okay, David, are you in favor or against the, using the mural?
I mean, I agree, it's not in a prime location, and for the price, I would disagree. I'd be
Trish?
against.
I agree with that.
Agree.
No? Okay, can I get a motion to reject the David Danforth mural for the golf course?
So move.
Lucianne, second? Trish? David? We'll take a vote,
Okay, yes.
okay?
Yes.
Trish?
Yes.
Lucianne, Robert? Okay. That's unanimous that the mural is rejected. You'll notify the artist? Okay. Mark, are we ready to go with the Girl Scouts?
We'll see in just a sec.
Okay. Because the next presentation is,
You are the man with all the solutions.
yes, bailed me out last night. While we're waiting, because these are very brief, I'm going to jump to old business E, 2 of the project updates. Christopher Still, the Advent Health North Pinellas mural is close to completion, but the renovations on the lobby are not. Chris has added a movie that is still in process that will support the whole production of the mural, et cetera, and I guess there'll be a reveal of everything this fall with the, whenever the renovation of the hospital lobby is complete. The Elizabeth Indianos mural is complete. The key was done on aluminum and installed at the Cultural Heritage Center. And we hope to have a gala unveiling this fall, Diane, when you, yes?
May I add some great news? Last Friday, Maggie Duffy from Tampa Bay Times came out and met at the Cultural Center with Elizabeth Indianos, and she is writing a major article on the mural for the Floridian to be actually run on one of the upcoming Sundays. So as soon as I find that out, we'll go ahead and do that. The other news I have is that we're going to be doing a dedication of the Cultural Center historic sign, and that's going to probably be, we're shooting on June 29th, but I'll get all the details to you. We would have it over at the Cultural Center, and then we'll have a bunch of dignitaries there for that. It'll be a great time for everyone to come and also see the Elizabeth Indianos mural. And then we're talking about doing one day a week, during the week, and then a Saturday, where it'll be, the cultural center will be open for 2 hours at a time, so people can come in and see the mural.
Perfect. That's great. I didn't think it was, we were gonna unveil until the fall.
Things happen fast. Well, since we had the historic marker, we felt like it would be a perfect time with people gathering to do it, you know, so.
Okay.
But I'll
That's
get
great.
you all the invitation first.
Right. Okay, wonderful. So we're gonna get some positive publicity from the mural and have a wonderful gala unveiling. Okay. Well, I guess I can go to D, the illuminated art boxes. We got a very good response from the second call to artists to, replace the images. This time, we got a little smart and restricted each one of the artists to one submission per artist. So we got 57 images, and they're, as part of your handouts. So, please, take them home, and as my grandchildren used to say, ponder, ponder. And, select which images you like. You can rank them if you'd like also. And we'll bring this back for discussion at the July meeting.
Joan, may I
Yes.
make a correction? The artists were limited to two
Oh,
submissions.
is that
not
what I
one.
said?
You said one.
Okay, no, two images. Thank you, sorry.
So I got a quick question. Are we only doing one per artist, though?
It doesn't matter. We'd prefer one per artist. I think you could probably tell,
Okay.
In
how many of these images, how many boxes do we have that are being filled?
we have 15, so it's 30 sides.
Okay. So the
So-
best 15 that we like,
No,
Right.
30.
30.
30.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
one
'cause
on
they're
each
double.
side.
15,
Okay.
yeah, each side is different,
Yeah.
so,
So we can pick 30 out of the 57,
Seven.
whatever it was, yes.
Okay.
any other questions about the artwork? As I said, you could rank them if you'd like.
Is that necessary to rank them?
No,
mean, we
I just said if you
We
like.
just pick up 30 that we like,
Right,
yeah.
It would be helpful if you did want to do them on here and then put your name on the top, and then I could compile them.
Okay.
Or we could do a blind one, it doesn't matter,
yeah.
whichever you prefer.
Yeah, well, Diana was swamped, so I kind of helped her with this, and I tried whenever I could to block out artists' names on the paintings, because we want to keep this anonymous as much as possible. Ladies, are we ready?
I will be your clicker. Hi, we're Troop 1142 in Tarpon Springs, Florida, and my name is Brianna.
You
and
can,
I'm
you can
going,
take your mask down if you wish.
okay, and I'm going to be starting the presentation for you. You can please click this slide. So the main problem that we're trying to address is the main issue at hand is that there's lack of visual education to the public on the issue of water pollution and in our local environment. And a global issue or example of this would be the Pacific Garbage Patch. So on a local level, right here in Tarpon Springs, Florida, the problem that we're seeing with global warming and potentially clogged sewer drains leads to flooding of local roads, which hampers access to local schools and businesses. And this makes commute, especially during the rainy season, a real struggle in Florida and around Tarpon Springs. So Tarpon Springs, particularly the sponge docks, the history and economy is based on fishing, the sponges, and tourism of wildlife and natural beauty. And water pollution would negatively affect all of these things, affecting the local economy as well. So the solution that we came up with was to start a storm drain project and continue and bring one that they had in Clearwater to Tarpon Springs. And the main goal is to educate citizens and visitors of Tarpon Springs to the dangers associated with allowing trash and other pollutants to travel down our storm drains. So this ongoing program would be held by a city group, ideally working with the Sustainability Committee and the Public Art Committee as well together. And this project also aligns with the objectives found in Resolution 2019-15, and the project would also align with the Pinellas County Code prohibiting pollutants from entering surface waters. So the storm drain education project also aligns with the Pinellas County Comprehensive Conservation and Management Plan for Clearwater Harbor and St. Joseph Sound. And it's the bridge between art, visual learning, and raising awareness about the environment in our idea that we came up with.
So some examples that we found are best to represent our storm drain project was the Clearwater's storm drain project that they're doing. And these paintings can reflect to a specific area they're in as well. So by the dog park could have dogs on it, or a drain by the bayou could have aspects of marine life specifically found in the bayou. Next slide, please. And these are actually 2 murals we produced. Our group is over there in our little yellow safety vests, and that's the mural we did over in Clearwater. These are some steps from Clearwater's program, which will be linked in the resources at the end to give more specifics. You want to select one or several city-owned storm drains to paint, and considering the storm drain that will be the most visible will have the most impact. So you want places with high foot traffic, such as areas next to elementary schools or communities placed next to elementary schools. Create a design that incorporates an environmentally conscious, ocean-friendly theme. Once a draft of your design is complete, submit it through the storm drain mural application, which can be found through the City of Tarpon Springs website. This is more specific to us. We want to I'm going to skip that one because that's discussing storm drain and making sure that it's in a safe area and that placards aren't tampered with. Next slide, please. This is about making sure that you maintain brushes that have been purchased, disposing of supplies, not leaving anything on site to reduce pollution that you're hoping your mural will help deter. You want to send your photo of your completed design to Tarpon so the city can celebrate your work, post it over social media, and then continue being a steward of your storm drain and making sure it's maintained and doesn't become damaged or clogged. Additionally, the city would come in and add a plaque with a QR code. Citizens, after scanning the code, would be directed to information regarding the importance of storm drains, pollution, and the environment. The last element would crucially educate and raise awareness in the community. Next slide, please. These are some of the ways to best promote the educational project, which we'd be posting about it on the Tarpon Springs City Facebook page, keeping an album of photos where pictures of completed drains are shown, inform volunteers in the community, local art teachers and art clubs at schools, can also help with student awareness and get more activism in our youth and in our communities rather than basing it off of outside members of the community. We can make it more personal to us. We can get local businesses involved with the Merchants Association. We can have them sponsor some of the drains up in front of their communities and their businesses to show that they also promote good disposal habits. And you can utilize the city's websites. You can make project tabs, sustainability committee tabs, and under the public art committee tab.
So these murals would be created by volunteers. Volunteers could be pulled from the different Interact clubs at our schools, even adult Rotary clubs, because it would be a community service project because you're bringing this activism to the community. We could potentially get businesses and other scout groups to offer to do them as well. Businesses could help sponsor. Volunteers would be provided with all the materials to execute these storm drains. I will elaborate on that later. And the volunteers are only doing the painting of the murals. So our group scouted out a couple of potential locations that we thought would be ideal to place these different storm drain murals. So the one right near the dog park, there's a drain on Danforth Avenue, which leads to the recreational equipment area in Tarpon Springs. Again, it's got a lot of ideal foot traffic. The 2 large ones off of Pine Street and Gross Avenue, it's close to City Hall and the local elementary school. And these locations were all picked due to their ideal foot traffic, which would help raise more awareness for this issue. So cost and materials. This is a very rough estimate, but we basically calculated out that it would be, the kind of starting up cost would be about $150. Note that does not include the cost of like the plaque. That would be a scannable QR code, which would lead to information. But a lot of the necessary materials can be used over again, like the safety vest. So when we do the project again at different locations, it wouldn't cost nearly as much. However, paints and things like that would have to be purchased again. So funding potential, we could get local businesses to sponsor different drains to help cover the costs. This would give the businesses an opportunity to put themselves out into the community. It would kind of show that they have a good public image and show that they care about the environment. The city council or different local government groups could add a budget line for this continual program, and we could apply for different educational grants. So this addresses the problem. Due to the nature of the project, the community would not only be reminded about caring for both their water system and pollution, but it would also serve to attract some tourism to the beautification of the city drains, educate youth and other generations on the importance of water conservation and avoiding water pollution. The QR code would, of course, direct citizens to a reliable information regarding the importance of storm drains and not putting waste down them. And of course, aligns with the community stormwater education initiatives. Here are some of our resources and references, including the Pinellas County, their kind of plan, and the Tampa Bay's stormwater drain outreach and education. Thank you.
Well, I have to say that was very, very impressive. And I don't know about the rest of the committee, but I'm ready to nominate all of you for public office. David?
I mean, I love it. I think it's great. Would we have the option to see over the artwork? Do you have a mock-up before you actually paint it?
So a part of the steps is when everybody, because this is a program, so other people would be able to do it. A part of the kind of approval is they would have to submit a kind of sketch of what they would be doing at that storm drain. So it can get approved. They can hopefully incorporate, you know, the area and things like that.
And are you using Facebook to make almost like a tally of what people want to see? Maybe you put up 3 sketches and select the best one, or is it just?
Oh, that would be very clever to then get some public opinion involved as well. That's awesome. Thank you.
Do you have any idea how often they need to be maintained? Is that like a yearly thing?
Well, that would all depend on how well your volunteers are taking care of their materials. Things like safety vests can last for years to come as long as they're being stored properly and not in wet environments. And the same can go for brushes that are properly cleaned. They can also last for years to come.
I think primarily what I was asking for is the art that's going to be on the storm drain.
So, I mean, it depends on how long the sealant lasts.
Yeah.
Right.
The issue is like weathering and things like that. We can't factor in for that, but I would make the assumption that it lasts at least a year. I mean, our storm drain, we did that how many years ago? About 2 years ago, and it's still in pretty good condition.
Three,
Okay.
3 to 5 probably.
3 to
is what
5.
you- Yeah, depending upon the type of.
I love it. I think the option to be able to see what's going to be there before it's put on would be great, but as far as that's concerned, like our chair said, we're gonna nominate you when you come up for visit, you know, to be elected, but yeah, I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Okay, Trish?
Yeah, I love it too. I have seen it in other cities and was, you know, when I see it in other places, I say, why can't we do something like that in Tarpon Springs? So I really, really love the project. And question, can we get a copy of that presentation of your?
Yes, we can email you a copy of it.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, thank you.
Bill?
You guys checked off everything on the list. That was beautiful. You really did a great job. It's a fantastic project. I've been involved in it in other communities, and, you know, whatever support you need, you know, keep going.
One of the reasons that we came up with this idea is because in Girl Scouts we have to do something called a Take Action project, which is where it's kind of like a community service project, but it's long lasting. So we came up with, to bring this idea to Tarpon Springs from Clearwater, hoping that the art committee would work together, possibly with the sustainability committee, to kind of take this on and like see it through and make sure that it lasts a long time. So that's why, it's another reason why we're presenting it to you guys today.
Lucianne?
Absolute ditto on all the kudos and congratulations. You've done a marvelous job. I have one main question, which is, will the troop manage the program? Will you organize and recruit the volunteers, submit the designs? Are you going to manage this whole thing?
So we actually age out of Girl Scouts in about a year. So the main idea of this Take Action project was to present it to you guys in hopes that you guys would like it and take it on and be willing to like see it through and like help educate and recruit different people to do this and have it on your website. So how the city of Clearwater does it is that they made it very publicized about the program, and so then we went in as volunteers and we decided to pick several storm drains to paint. So that's kind of how it would work here. Like you guys put it on the website, maybe have the Merchants Association advertise it, and just do your best advertising it, and then different programs and groups throughout the city pick storm drains to paint and submit their proposals for it through you. Oh yeah, and we could start with the first two, that way you guys have publicity photos to use and stuff for the program. Does that make sense? Okay.
Lucianne, do you have any other
So,
comment? Oh,
well,
I'm sorry.
So just to further address that, so the application process is on the City of Clearwater's website.
Take your mask down.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So the application is on the City of Clearwater's website, and the girls pulled a lot of that information. So the hope is that the two committees would work together to come up with your own set of criteria, rules, whatever works for the city of Tarpon Springs. It would be out there on your website. They would start by doing the first two storm drains and painting them, and then helping to publicize it to get other groups. And every now and then, a group may come up and push the application and say, hey, I want to apply to the city of Tarpon Springs for our group to do one of the murals. They would submit the drawings to the Public Art Committee, very similar to the process that we did to submit this. And you would say, yes, we like these designs, no, we don't like these designs, go back, refine them, etc. And so you would have more control over what is actually being painted. And then the QR code with the information is where the Larson from the Sustainability Committee comes in to help pick the websites with the girls of where we want to drive that educational traffic to. So perhaps storm drains down by the sponge docks have different educational information links than storm drains up here. One of the other things that the girls thought about was maybe it's a scavenger hunt. There's a series of them, and they're numbered. And it's actually a tourism draw. Hey, come and walk through the different strategically located storm drains that are painted, find out a little bit more about the city, and then again, the educational component of it. So this is a very flexible thing. They thought up the framework, and again, their goal is to pass this on to the city to take on in some way, shape, or form, and they're going to kickstart it with some initial funding and some initial painting. But the hope is that if the application is housed on the City of Tarpon Springs website, that we help spread the word, but that it takes on a life of its own, and the girls are no longer needed.
Diane, has Public Works weighed in on this at all? Have they?
No.
So this is brand new, so it's something we'd have to run past Tom and his group. Okay.
Robert?
I think it was an extraordinarily professional presentation, and you should be very proud of yourselves for all the extra work you did on it and all the detail. And I do have one thing. I think it's more for the committee here. We've discussed doing mural projects, and this one, as you mentioned, the wear and tear of this is going to be higher than, say, a mural on a wall. from foot traffic to car traffic to storms and drains and things bumping into it and stuff. And I see an opportunity for this to be an ongoing type thing with a contingency for how long do you expect one of these to last, and is there a plan for replacing it? And either replacing it or refurbishing it. But I really like the idea of having a set of storm drains that are ideal for your purposes, for the high visibility and stuff, is that you have if it would last that long, let's say a 3-year period, and then it would be painted over, and then you would have a new set of information in it. I think that kind of thing would just create it as a traditional kind of event, and it's the problem with the deterioration is, oh, I don't want to paint it over, but if we go into it knowing that it's going to have a lifespan, a very distinct lifespan, I think then you're not stepping on anybody's toes, you're not hurting anybody. Everybody knew going in that it would be there for 3 years. And then you can target that same storm drain for another one, because it's been successful, right? That's how you can build upon this. Right? As I said, I think that's this committee too, and I think it goes for other projects as well that are mural related, which do have some deterioration, and with a time frame on them for replacement, and enables us to have, instead of running out of space, running out of walls or running out of things, we have some that are optimum, that really work for us.
Right. I guess the question I have is, you're involving a lot of different, you've got 2 committees, Public Works, to coordinate all of this. And, the Girl Scouts have started it. I think it would be great if you kind of continued with it. Is that totally off the table for you guys?
No, think of our little free library. That's what we talked about. So, our troop personally, we are juniors in high school, be seniors next year, so we graduate. So we'd have to find different troops in the area that would be willing to help assist with this project with you guys.
That would be ideal, to make it, a Girl Scout project as well as your troop project. I
Yeah,
think
and
you
it
could be,
doesn't.
pioneers in setting this up.
Okay, yeah, because each city has a service unit. So the city of Tarpon Springs, their service unit is Beautiful Waters, and it's made up with different troops in it. So I'm sure that there would be troops that would love to paint murals and stuff.
Right. I know, I've noticed that the cost for this, each one is minimal, and as you said, there's very little renewables that you need, basically paint and things of that sort, which, we could certainly, I think the committee is in agreement that we could help out certainly with, the cost of, paint and, the vests, and, maybe if we do come up with some funding, maybe put the Public Art Committee logo on there, get a little self-promotion in exchange for the funding. But I like the idea of also approaching the local merchants, because I think that's a win-win. We've all had experiences in other communities, and where I used to work, we had a banner program where, businesses had an opportunity to put their business information on the banner, on the bottom of the banner with, their name and, contact information. So, maybe we could find a way to maybe include something like that in the QR code, so that if a business, commissions you or contributes to the storm drain mural, they get a little, positive publicity as well. So, but, I think everybody here is, just overwhelmed. As I said, the quality and professionalism of your presentation, ladies, was just very, very impressive. So I think you should all be very, very proud of yourselves. And does anybody have any comments about where we should go with this next? Diane?
I was just gonna ask a question. How do you see the Public Art Committee and the Sustainability Committee working together on this project? What was your thinking there? And I guess my other question was to make sure that we had groups of artists that were gonna be working on the drains that you all identify as, viable.
So to answer your first question, the Sustainability Committee, we made a presentation to them, and they said that they would love to work with the Public Art Committee, you guys, because they saw it as a project that incorporates both parts of the city. So the Sustainability Committee comes in with the QR codes and the overall message of watch what you put down the drain because it affects our environment, which then affects our city. So that's where they would come in with the different links and the resources and the educational aspect of it. You guys would come in approving the artwork that artists wanted to submit to paint onto drains and the locations and different things like that. And then what was your second question again? I'm sorry.
No, I was just wondering where we were gonna get the artists that we're gonna pull up. Would that be a call to artists that the Public Art Committee would put out, or is that something that you all would be providing, artist groups that would be interested?
So, usually how the city of Clearwater does it is I believe they just had like a public call. So any group that wanted to come, anyone could submit a proposal to paint a storm drain. So that's similar to how it would work here. And I'm sure that Girl Scouts, like some troops would love to do this and they would love to submit proposals, but it could really be anybody in the community that wanted to paint a drain.
Great, thank you.
Like a standing call to artists that would just be on our website that
Right.
people could make an application and select the storm drain, as long as it's approved by Public Works.
And I also think it's great that the Sustainability Committee would be providing the educational component for the artwork. That's a good win-win.
It checks the boxes off. It's really a great program.
Right. Yeah, I did a quick calculation, probably incorrect. Well, the renewables would probably be $100, as you said, you could, So the initial investment would be $150, which would include one storm drain, and that would be like $100 per drain after that for costs. And I think we could easily come up with maybe the first 4. Because that would be 300, that'd be about $500. I think we can, Lucianne?
I would move to provide $500 conditional on a local Girl Scout troop taking responsibility for management. I think it needs an ongoing presence outside of the city structure to make it work.
Do I hear a second? Trish? Ladies, how do you feel about that? We're kind of in a discussion phase here. Oh.
I'm sorry, I think one of the issues about the Girl Scouts taking it out is so many key factors of it would have to be continually approved by you guys, which would be the artwork, which would be the information that is being put out there. For you to have the control over what you wanted to say about your community, what you wanted to look like your community, that would have to be constant back and forth, where we just thought it was easier if it was just coming to you immediately, so that you had complete control over what that message and what that art, what that picture would look like. And that's for your reason that the girls are giving it to you to manage and for you to oversee, so that you can make sure it's exactly what you wanted for Tarpon Springs. Like they said, they age out. When we pass it to the next time, what do they see? How do they manage it? And being it's for the entire community, we just wanted to make sure that it was sitting in the right hand, under the right control, so that it was the right message and it was beneficial to Tarpon.
Right. Yeah, I guess when, I know, for myself, I thought that this was gonna be a Girl Scout project, not something that we would manage. you know, as, to reinforce, I think, what everybody thinks, we'd be more than happy to, you know, get you kick-started financially. We can certainly come up with $500, you know, for, you know, to do 4 storm drains. But I don't know if we want to take this on as an ongoing project, you know, just
It's a
on
big
our
pro-
own.
Yeah, it's a big,
You know, it sounds like a perfect, you know, badge or pin program for a Girl Scout troop. And, you know, maybe it would be a good idea to roll it over within other troops and, you know, within the Girl Scouts. And, you know, I think, you know, given what the content is and the fact that you're working with the Sustainability Committee, I have no doubt that, you know, the content would probably be as, you know, excellent and professional as your presentation was. You know, I'm sure if you just ran it through us, would probably just rubber stamp approval. I can't see us, you know, any of this being controversial. And, I don't know, David, how do you feel?
I personally love it as a Girl Scout project, and I'm not quite sure if that could roll over to the next troop, and just stay within the Girl Scouts. I think, you know, the whole volunteer aspect is gonna bring more awareness than if we simply pay somebody to put it on there. And then the sustainability, will be doing the links and what have you to provide the information. And I do agree, it's gonna bring on a whole nother project for us, and to keep it in your hands, and we're not gonna, you know, deny probably any of your art. We're probably gonna love it all. And so I think that kind of takes away from what it's going to represent from the beginning.
I'm wondering if the Girl Scouts could take on the first, 4 or 5 drains and do those, and then we could make a decision about whether we want to keep on with it as a committee.
Would you ladies
That would
be
my
willing to
suggestion.
take on the first?
Yes, so we would be willing to like paint the first 4 storm drains and then let you guys continue it. So we could just be your first like 4 starter drains, like where are the locations that you decide.
I would be willing to approve
Yeah,
that.
Bill?
That's what I was gonna recommend as well, that we do a kickoff and see how the first couple go, and then we can determine, you know, how successful and, you know, what we wanna do going forward with it.
Right, Lucianne?
That's reasonable.
Yeah, Robert?
Like any creative process, you start out one thing, you start finding out some other things, and it's gonna take 4 of them to figure those out.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so I'd like to entertain a motion to fund Girl Scout Ambassador Troop 1142 with $500 to kickstart the storm drain project with 4 storm drains with, for now. And can I hear a motion? Trish?
Yes.
David, second. David, aye, or are you voting? Aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous. So congratulations, ladies. We'll send you $500 for your supplies for 4 storm drains, and we're looking forward to your project. And as I said before, if it's anywhere even approaching the excellence and professionalism of your presentation here, I think we're going to see some wonderful work.
Thank
May I
you.
ask-
Thank you. So our next steps, we will go back and meet with Ms. Larson of the Sustainability Committee and involve the Public Works Department as well.
Right.
To make sure that the storm drains that they've chosen are in fact good locations for whatever reason. And
Right.
then, so we will continue, I think, at this point, to keep you appraised of where we're going and keep your committee in the loop of
Right.
things.
Yes,
as
and you'll
we
do that through
progress.
Diane.
Through Ms. Wood, okay?
Right.
And we'll just keep you appraised of where we're going with this. Again, their vision is a bigger vision for something that is continued on, but they would like to get it started.
Okay.
Yes, wonderful.
I have a question. Are we going to be able to see the artwork before? I mean, are we going to be able to approve the artwork or see it?
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
the-
again, that would go to Diane, and she'll just,
Okay.
because of sunshine laws, everything has to be funneled through Diane.
Okay.
And the nice thing is too, if you're going back to the Sustainability Committee, Paul Smith with the city is, of course, working with them, and so he can make sure that the drains that you choose are, workable for the city.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Excellent, ladies. Okay, Bill and David, batter's up.
Do you think that that's something that the Sustainability Committee would take on and then present with us?
I think they're taking on the educational component, and, maybe they could fund I don't know what kind of funding they have, maybe they
Well, we
could.
could fund the art still,
Exactly.
maybe
Well,
that's an idea.
we've
No,
looked-
you.
We had originally gone to the Sustainability Committee and Paul Smith, and we started with them. And then we made the presentation, and Paul Smith had a conversation with Mr. LaForest and said that it had to go through the Public Art Committee because it was painting on city property. And so that's how we ended up in front of you. We had already planned, we had already started with the Sustainability Committee. So we're going to, now that we have your approval, go back to the Sustainability Committee, which is where we started, and Mr. Smith, who worked with Mr. LaForest, to make sure that we are, again, the goal is to create an ongoing project that is sustainable in and of itself, that you approve the artwork, that they approve the spots, that the education is continued by the Sustainability Committee, but I think it really falls within their purview, based on their adoption of the codes and the proposals, for St. Joseph Sound and whatnot that the girls referenced, that it met and aligned with their vision and their mission. And so they were originally going to take it on, but Mr. LaForest insisted that we get your approval because of the public nature of the artwork.
I commend you for navigating the maze. Congratulations.
Good job.
How it works, so I think that now we have your approval, we will go back to Sustainability, Mr. Smith and Ms. Larson, and speak with them again, say, here's where we are, where do we go now? And I think that they will be in a much better position to advise us, as to where we go now. And like I said, the girls do want to do the first one, like I said, we participated in Save Clear Waters. I do think that yes, we would want to approve every single one. And again, most Girl Scouts are little. So I don't know, you have to be careful. I mean, I don't know if you really want a brownie troop painting
No.
a mural. I mean,
Yeah.
you do want to have that creative control over it. We have the option of using stencils or no stencils. Our girls are artistic, and so they did all of that freehand. And also the artwork's often driven by what the storm drain looks like, and
Right.
how they incorporate the length, but what the actual physical location looks like. So we thank you for your approval, and you will hear back from us probably in August, because now we're on summer break. But we will be back in touch with you all.
Well, you have our approval
Yes.
and our funding, so thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you.
What's your name? I'm sorry.
My name is Andrea Weaver, and I'm the co-leader. That was my co-leader, Miss Kathy, sitting in the blue shirt. And we are one of 27 troops in Tarpon Springs.
Okay.
And like my daughter said, we are the Girl Scouts of Beautiful Waters, and we need there's a service unit. We belong to Girl Scouts of West Central Florida, which there are over 200 troops from going over to up to Citrus, down to the southern end of Pinellas, Lakeland, Plant City, and our headquarters is located over by the airport. And so Beautiful Waters belongs to the larger corporate Girl Scouts of West Central Florida, and we're one troop in Tarpon Springs.
Okay.
So that is kind of our structure and our framework and how we operate.
Well, very impressive. You should be proud of all of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
John.
Most of them have been Girl Scouts since they were kindergarten, first grade.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So they're getting ready to age out.
I was thrown out of the brownies, so.
Well, thank you very much, and have a good afternoon.
Thank
Ms.
you
Weaver.
again.
I think we've talked about utilizing infrastructure as public art, and I think it's perfect combination, and with the sustainability factor, I think it's a home run.
Yeah.
I think let them get it kicked off, we'll watch and see how it works, and then we decide how we handle it going forward. But
Right.
it may be as easy as an open call for artists that we put on our website,
Yeah.
that, if you have a group and you want to do a storm drain, we'll sign you a storm drain, and, you know, you bring the art before us, and we even fund to this amount of money,
Right,
you know, to do those. I think it's great.
yeah.
I think Mr. Meals is volunteering to go find all the storm drains.
Yeah. Whatever we need to do, it's a great project.
Right.
It's a good project.
Okay, now we have Bill and David up next.
We were given the assignment of going to the parks and take a look at the different facilities. And David made the trip to each one of the locations and took photos. I used our map here. I'll kick it off, and then I'm going to turn it over to him because he's got extra things that he wrote down and everybody has on a paper that was handed out. But if you take a look, we've talked about spreading out some of the artwork, and you know, here's Riverside, here's Sisler, this is Rotary Park, this is Dorset, this is the Discovery Point, and this is Oakleaf. So you can see we've touched different parts of the community that you know really haven't seen much of the public art. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through some of these, and I'll let David speak to what he saw and some of the ideas that he had. So just tell me when you're ready to go to the next one then.
So a lot of the parks, I'm not sure if we want to be painting on all the utilities as far as the bathrooms, concession, but I did take images of everything, so if we wanted to do a call to artists and just see what ideas possibly show up. I did notice that a lot of the chain link is being replaced from the regular galvanized to black, and with that, they are replacing the dugouts at Sizzler. I don't know if that's something that's going to be followed through with the west side of Sizzler, but the east side has been fully replaced. So I'm not sure if painting on a dugout that's going to be replaced within a few months is something that's sustainable as well. What I did notice within the playgrounds, which would kind of be neat, is if we put some type of art installation that's also interactive. I think I've said the head through the hole kind of imaging for Sunset, but something that kind of correlated with what it's all about. Like Discovery, it's kind of woodsy, animal-y, possibly, you know, you put your head through it and you're some type of raccoon or squirrel or something like that. It might be neat, and you know, it's fashionably done in wood and looks like it kind of fits the part. It's not just a...
Here's your first photo up here of it.
Okay, correct.
In fact, you can even come up here maybe and run this and speak to them. May work better.
I think you're doing a pretty good job, Mr. Wheels. That's what I figured. But so in this location right in front, I had an idea. Obviously, wouldn't be something so cut and dry as to that, and we could do a call to artists and see what kind of really artistic work comes out of it. So I kind of circled that in red. I did notice that the volunteer bookstore thing was kind of broken down. I did not take a picture of that, so I don't know if that's something that we want to take on. But I did notice the restrooms just white as well. I'm not sure if that's something that we want to paint. This is also a utility shed that's right next to the announcer booth, and that's got a garage door on either side. I'm not sure if that's something that is going to need to be painted. And this bench right here was probably one of the only wood benches that I found there. They are replacing them with plastic, PVC, and so I'm not sure if that's something that we want to be painting over either. So the announcer booth is basically white as far as all the other buildings. So once again, if we're going to do a call to artists, I'm not quite sure what the whole idea of painting all these business or buildings will look like. So next would be the concession stand and corrals. So this is the picture of the concession stand with almost a pavilion attached to it. And then the restrooms are in the rear of that. So called artists, what that's going to look like. Maybe they'll give us a better idea. I don't know if we want baseballs on everything or what have you. So this corral right here, there's two sheds and it's basically catty corner from the concession, and the wood needs to be replaced, the fencing there. So possibly, I know we're going to do a high school project for the sunset. Maybe this could be something that follows through with Discovery Playground as well, or this park, to where we replace that with public utility, comes in, replaces that fencing, and we put up a billboard or some type of wooden option that can be replaced, and the high school children can or students can paint some type of art or create an art project there. So this has fallen into, I believe this is Dorset, correct? So this is the concession as well. There was something there that stated the grills should be looked at, which they were completely rusted out, and I don't know if you can really put art on a grill, but I did not have images of that. The concession stands, and then this little utility building that's right there. It's got a little wooden deck off the back, and once again, all these benches are going to be PVC. I'm not sure if what type of art would actually stick and stay, or if that's something that we would want to go through with, but that was in the write-up that somebody had, I believe it was the commission that sent us that. The playground with the basketball courts, so this is another option with the playground if we wanted to do one of those interactive face-through hole kind of picture opportunities. Once again, you can see the Public Works has been changing it out with plastic benches and picnic tables. Going into the basketball courts, I'm not sure if we want to do a full painting on the basketball courts or make it like a full art project. That would be kind of neat, but they do look like they've been fresh painted. But there was this knee-high wall that could be an option for, do a call to artists. Maybe it would be some type of urban theme or something that brought in basketball or the sport in general. This would be Riverside right here, and the Riverside field looks like they are going to be building up on that as well, replacing the chain link. Right now it's the galvanized. Another idea I had for all the parks is perhaps doing some type of statue, and it could follow like a sea creature theme, or Mr. Mills had an idea for what it encompasses. Say, if they play soccer mainly there, maybe some type of soccer statue or something that insinuates the idea of what it's really being used for. Once again, it's basically the same thing. The landscaping was amazing. I believe Public Works probably had something to do with that, but it really brought in a whole nother look, kind of artistic look, but it's more landscaping artistic. So let's see. Possible restroom mural. This is the image of the restrooms there. It's stark white, just like all the other utilities at these fields. And then we would go into Sizzler. The mural looked great. I did notice that it's only one wall. I guess that would be a wall and a half. But one side, I didn't know if that's something that we wanted to continue on the whole building or just keep it on the one side. Once again, Sizzler is, if you're on the east side of Sizzler, it's being completely updated. And so the west side seems like it's going through a lot. Possibly, I'm not quite sure. We would have to talk to Mr. Function, Tom, to see if that's something that's going to be done. Another idea that came across me was painting these little pillars, and I believe they are for houses, correct? Old foundations, but maybe doing some type of nautical theme, or maybe they could be buoys, or maybe they could be baseballs, or maybe they could be whatever. Maybe doing a call to artist, and they're just white pillars just sticking out everywhere. Maybe they could be realigned and reset. Once again, these are the dugouts that I'm not quite sure if they're going to be torn down. In the batting cage, if that's going to be replaced or what type of artwork we could actually put on there, if it's going to be a banner or something that's permanently attached. I did this, one of these is for the call to artists, the smaller grandstand that was concrete. Could you go back just one more, Mr. Mills? And so the white that's on the bottom left, I believe we had a call to artists to have that painted as well. So just taking images of what was there. So on the next slide, this is the concession stand on the east side. It's updated, it looks great. You know, I don't know if those are granite blocks, but if we would want to paint that, if it even could be painted or if it could hold paint, if it would just chip out off with weathering. But in this bottom left image, I circled an area that's just kind of open and not sure if maybe that could be a location of, you know, a small statue, maybe a kraken coming out of the grass, and it could just have a little plaque there with, you know, some information or what have you. But it seems like they've done a lot of updates on that side, and it looks completely different than the west side. So I implore you, everybody, to go look at that if you have a moment. Right here you can see the cages are all newly black, and then I also circled that location next to the concession for a possible statue. I think everything that was pointing to Public Works and what their plans are and where they see this headed, if they're changing all the cages out, you know, would we put art, how would you put art on chain link? I'm not quite sure, but that was in the questionnaire, I believe, that we received. And so.
Well, thank you. You did an amazing job.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's a lot of opportunities is the bottom line.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of just blank white walls.
Right.
Yeah, Diane?
Yeah, and keep in mind too, when you're talking about statues, they don't need to be bronze statues. There's all kinds of aluminum and different, you know, other elements that can be really cool structures, you know.
Right. Exactly.
Painted bright colors, fun.
Right. Well, the one thing, I remember Robert talking about using primary colors. That might be an interesting option for
Well,
those
just
pillars.
as a connecting to that, what that is it sort of coordinates things. So, because it's really a cacophony of stuff.
Right.
I mean, you know, and David, you really did a good job in citing out things, but if it's too much, it's too much. You know, it becomes a hodgepodge, and there needs to be some kind of aesthetic control over what would go into these. I mean, these are first and foremost athletic fields, right? And having all this other information there, even if it's related to what they're doing there, it could be an intrusion in it. And you can think of how could this be, in some sense, I mean, how could this elevate from a $1,000 mural project to a much higher cost project where you coordinate these baseball fields all over the city in a way that we can approach it with a kind of a coordinated process. And sort of one way that, you know, that I thought was that you could get Public Works to maybe do it is paint everything primary colors. You know, paint this red and paint that yellow, and, you know, really come up with a good red and a good yellow, not just any red and yellow. And use those to coordinate all these, and it has the sense. I mean, it's very modernist. I mean, Mondrian would have done that back in the teens, you know, the 19 teens, instead of having images and stuff. And it something that you could see the city up doing. I mean, what happens with these things is everything gets into a state of decay, a state of disarray. And part of the process is, and something that you got commended on last night, Joan, was that we have a budget for upkeep on our sculpture, on our process. And that's the thing, art's expensive to maintain. I mean, our elements are attacking it every single day. And athletic fields tend to get dingy, because of the nature of them. They do have cyclone fences. They do have rocks here, so you can't park in this area or something like that. So I think there is something that this could become, whereas it could be smaller components, but with a larger goal for it. And I mean, one way to do it is just primary colors. Just attack these facilities with primary colors. I mean, you could paint a cyclone fence a red and another one a blue, and you could do that, but it would have to be done more than once. You'd have to repeat it because it'll just start getting dingy again. Paint doesn't like to stick on a lot of stuff, especially galvanized stuff.
Yeah. Well, there seems to be just a lot of plain white walls, even to, take a couple of walls and just paint them primary colors to start with. That might be very interesting. Lucianne, we'll go this way for a change.
By the time I saw the third white building with the tan things,
Right.
I was thinking of Robert's idea about primary colors, because there they are, they have to be painted, and
Right.
that would be a wonderful unifying thing. Something else occurred to me when David mentioned it, and you, Joan, talked about banners earlier in the meeting. I don't know if hanging banners really is physically or logistically possible, but that a unified kind of banner system would also, that may be too much and too complicated, but I think starting with doctoring those white buildings is a great place.
Yeah, because, I mean, I know they're city buildings, but they look institutional, with, just one white wall after another. Bill?
Yeah, totally agree with everything that's been mentioned before. I think there's an opportunity to do something iconic that maybe can unify some things too, also with, you can call wayfinding, or you can call it, I hate to use the term signage, but something at, if you take a look at the corner of Sunset and Riverside, there's an opportunity to really showcase this is Riverside Park. And if we did something that unified all the parks a little bit, so that when you went past Sisler, then, oh, this is another city park. Look, there's that iconic sculpture, whatever you want to, I don't know what it is, but maybe something iconic that when you pull it up to these facilities, it's like immediately you go, I know where I am and I know what this is, and a little bit of that. So I think there's some opportunities with that in addition to whatever you want to do with buildings and some of the other colors.
That's a great idea. Trish?
Yeah, I like the idea of interspersing the murals, some of the white walls with murals, and then others with the primary colors, instead of having all of them, painted
Right.
with different colors. Having the murals and the primary colors. Because obviously there's so many white walls, we don't want them all having murals, so I think
Right.
the combination would be nice.
Right. David, first and foremost, you did an amazing job, and, with the synopses and the analysis, but thank you and kudos.
Yes,
Great job.
thank you. I mean, even if the buildings were painted in earth tones, they just wouldn't. It's almost like a sore thumb looking at it, institutionalized. And that was like the first thing, I didn't know if I was gonna be locked up if I went inside one, And so even if there was some type of geometric earth tone patterns to it, and everybody's saying if we could bring them all together, like this is a park of Tarpon Springs, I know where I'm at. And I'm gonna see the same kind of things at this park as I would this one. They're not so drastically different.
Right.
Something to bring them together.
Diane?
I was just gonna mention, we're all surrounded by water, kind of thing. It might be interesting to do you know, there's so many different shades of blues and greens, you know, kind of thing. And if you're looking for an iconic look for like the top of a building, so when you're passing by, you see something, you could have it painted a certain color and then do like a wave kind of motif that would identify it as a tarpon, you know, either a wave or something else, you know, that you come up with. Just a thought.
Yeah. You know, when I was listening to Robert talk too, you know, to just do like a couple of select walls with just some, maybe not solid primary colors, but maybe do like a geometric design incorporating primary colors. And each field would have a different geometric design, but still use the same colors as a tie-in. So, and I love Bill's idea of, you know, a signage, you know, maybe even a, you know, aluminum cutout type thing, maybe in, you know, the shape of a baseball player or, you know, just a silhouette of something, you know, with a sign. But I think there's a lot of potential here, and I think maybe you know, maybe, you know, give it a little thought and maybe come back with some concrete suggestions for the next meeting. Does that make sense to somebody? You want to make a decision today on something? Or you want to pick out maybe one place that we could do?
Do you want to do one place, or do you want to try to find something that unifies
I think
everything
there's
together?
a little bit more discussion on the whole thing, because I think it's really big. You've got all these different fields,
Yeah.
and you've got all these different things, and I think you just say, all right, let's just focus on one or another. I mean, I know Sisler Field is a big deal, and the Riverside, I drive by Riverside once in a while, so I see that one. But Rotary Park, I think I see. But I think that the opportunity for us to be really creative with this, to make a statement with all this, rather than sort of say, all right, there's not a lot of opportunity for major murals here, for instance, but there's opportunity for us to deal with this very creatively and to have people come in to be very creative with it. And I just think that it's instead of just saying, well, let's do this blockhouse here first and see what happens. Maybe we need to think about it and discuss it. Maybe we all need to think a little bit more about what we'd how we'd like to see it, and maybe discuss it more without really a major presentation in July. You know,
Right.
to let it percolate with us in a way, then.
Right, and you know, maybe even, you know, do actual site visits. And, you know, David did a wonderful job of, you know, photographing everything, but I think putting ourselves in the actual location might help too, to give us a firmer idea. So if everyone's in agreement, I don't think we need a motion, but I think we'll just defer this for further discussion in July. Does that seem to be the general feeling of the committee? So that'll be,
Joan?
yes.
Can I make an unusual request? I have to leave.
I think we just have the discussion of the unsolicited artist proposal handouts.
The which?
I think you can leave, because we have a quorum,
Okay, all right.
so.
I'm not voting anyway.
We always take your votes into
I know you
consideration,
do.
Robert.
But I'm sorry, but I should have mentioned it before, but.
That's all right.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
July.
Joan?
Yes?
Excuse me. When you all are percolating on the playgrounds, I think that's an awesome idea. If there's something that you particularly think of that you really, really like, and you can maybe get an idea of, you know, just call somebody to get a quote, just so you all can kind of get a feel for the costs associated with something
Okay.
special. You know, it might be helpful in your discussion next time.
Right.
Like, for instance, you could, sometimes they have, you can get like a quote on a 6-foot, you know, aluminum you know, statue of some sort, or see like from another, location, like what it cost. Because a lot of the cities, just to give you an idea, you can go on to city websites for the public art, and a lot of times what they have to do, because everything is public domain, is they will give you the, actual artist's name and also how much it costs them. So that way you can kind of get a feel for something that interests you, like, well, this is gonna be 25,000, or this is gonna be 5,000, you know, it just might help, you know, you in your discussion next time.
Right.
And how would we go about doing a site visit to one or two of these locations? How do, with our quorum, and how do we do that?
Eat by yourself,
But individually?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, unfortunately,
Unfortunately, we can't do it as a group, and, okay.
yeah.
It's about the closest we're gonna get to consideration
Okay.
by the committee.
It was pretty exciting going to the other playgrounds, because I've lived in Tarpon forever, and I've never once been to Discovery Playground, and it's amazing. It really is. They put a lot of thought in that playground, put a lot of money into it, so I think it's, you know, we're not serving it correctly when it's got the white building or what have you. And I'm not sure if they have something in the works to where they're gonna resurface all these buildings, so I mean, that could be another question that we're gonna need to ask Tom if.
I did have a conversation informally with Tom Funchin, and I think if we do have any projects, I think Public Works would be willing to, you know, prepare a surface
Right.
for, you know, painting, either, you know, the flat type of thing that Robert suggested, or a mural. So they're kind of on board with supporting us.
And we could find out if they're gonna replace something in the near future.
Right.
To just
Right.
give me a list of your questions, and I can just take them to Tom, and he can,
Because the concession, you know, in Sizzler Field, you got, you know, one or two roads, you got a concession that needs to be possibly replaced soon, and one that's been replaced, but I don't know if they just resurfaced it with
Yeah.
block, or if that's just a complete full rebuild. But it looks amazing. It's earth tone, it's, you know, it's got the granite look to it, looks really good. You don't really need to put a mural on it, but it's
Right.
not white, and it's not hurting your eyes and creating a distraction, so
Right.
I'm not quite sure if they're doing that to all the buildings or not.
yeah, I'll have to find out, because I wasn't aware that they were doing that.
Mhm.
Do you all want to continue to try to do the opposite side of Sisler Field with the, so we are gonna continue to, do the call out to artists for the softballs, right, on the other side?
Well, that was kind of a resident citizen request.
Do you want to continue to do that, though? I haven't gotten any new,
Yeah, we haven't, David, how do you feel about it? I'm
Would we
gonna
want the same artist to just finish the rest of the building?
You
So-
mean continue the baseball theme all the way around?
Possibly.
That's one thought. Trish?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay, Bill?
Yeah, we didn't like the one,
The second submission?
yeah, the second submission, so I think, you know, I wouldn't have a problem with, as nice as the first side came out, if we did continue with that artist. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do with the trajectory of the ball that you realize it's now a softball. So if it's a motion type of thing, I mean, there's a lot of things that could be done to make it, instead of just softballs all over it again.
Right.
So I wouldn't be for softballs all over it,
But-
but something that identifies it as softball either.
Right.
Like if they could make two of them neon yellow or something and just kind of incorporate that into it.
Yeah, mix them,
Something,
yeah.
to-
I did reach out to her, and told her that you did not approve her her first submission, and I, you know, invited her to submit another one, and I told her when the meeting was, and she has not reached out to me. She has not submitted something else, so. I don't know if there's anything else forthcoming. I could reach out to her again and just ask her, you know, or we could.
Ask her about the possibility of submitting something that's a variation on what she did, maybe incorporating the softballs like David suggested. Because that would,
On the same mural, or on the other, because.
yeah, on the other side,
Other side, okay.
yeah. Lucianne?
I think I'm hearing what people are saying. I have a terrible time in this room because of the acoustics.
It's
So
awful.
if I'm commenting
I'm sorry.
like this, that's why. I think the reason that the baseball mural works so well is that it's a continuous, unbroken line. Even though there's a break into the restroom, it still reads as a solid surface. The other side, where there are, 3 concession windows and it's broken up, doesn't seem to me to ever be able to have the same kind of impact. So I'm not crazy about using that wall. If there is another wall that is all one, I can see that. But even beyond that, if we're starting on this track of maybe using primary colors everywhere, kind of like to see where that goes before we commit to another narrative image. I mean, that's just all mine.
Right. Well, one of the things I was thinking about is if I could get a copy of the PowerPoint, I can play with it in Photoshop and do some things with putting some primary colors on walls, so you'd have a little better idea of how it looks.
It's a good idea.
So, you know, I'm pretty good at that, and it doesn't take me all that long. But I think it would give us maybe a better idea how, you know, the visual impact it would have.
Yes, I think that's an excellent idea. Yeah.
So, so I guess I'll take that on. So, you know, I can send it to Diane and she can get it out to everybody.
For next month.
Yeah,
so we can
for,
make it
yeah,
better
for discussion for next month.
Okay.
Okay. And does anybody have anything further on the athletic fields? Okay. I just realized the other item that we kind of skipped over because I was skipping around all over the place today, the Black Heritage Project. The selection panel met on May 27th at the community room with the public library and discussed consideration for the project, which included art in 2 locations, the Sponge Docks and the Union Academy neighborhood, where many descendants of the original Afro-Caribbean spongers now live. We have another meeting scheduled and should be releasing to call to artists after that meeting, after it's approved by the Public Art Committee. So I know that there's been a lot of just general discussion about what this is going to entail. I heard everything from statues to hook boats, and I think I stated it last night to the Board of Commissioners. I think what I most want to see, and I'd like your input on this, is the creativity of the artists who are going to be submitting. I think if we give them some locations and let them come up with something, whether it's a realistic statue or whether it's an abstract or whether it's a combination of both, I want to see what the artistic community can provide for us to consider. David, do you have any thoughts about this?
I do agree, so we can see what's being, submitted. I think that would give us a better idea of where to move forward.
Yeah. I'm also going to try to be proactive to get some additional funding for this because I know, well, Robert's gone, but I know that the amount we have budgeted, while it seems a lot in the grand scheme of things, it's not an awful lot for a major project like this. So, and if any of you have any ideas about, a company or a business or something that would like to, submit any kind of support, financial support for this. One thing I learned in fundraising is that, $500 contributions is equal to $500, no matter how you slice it. So whatever anybody wants to contribute, I think would be more than welcome. And I don't think we have any restrictions, Diane, about accepting any financial support for a project.
Not that I know of.
Yeah. Trish?
Yeah, I think your idea is a good one. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Bill?
Yes. Has there been any discussion on location at all?
Well, the discussion was the sponge docks because of the, the fact that, this was part of the sponge industry, and the Union Academy neighborhood because that's where most of the original sponge hookers lived, but also where their descendants live. And I guess my two main references for this is Annie Dabbs and Milton Smith, both of whom were descendants of, some of the, I think they're third and fourth generation. And Milton made the point that his mother came from Bimini, so she was Caribbean, and his father came down from the Carolinas, and he was, had African descent. So it's become a melting pot of people, and I want to try to make it as historically accurate as possible. So that's why I've been getting feedback from this panel, which I think is invaluable.
I think once you pick a geographic location, that's going to really dictate what kind of art.
Right,
so,
right.
I mean, once you get that honed in, I think then you let the creative juices fly.
Right.
So I think you're right on.
So are you saying either of the sponge docks or Union Academy neighborhood, or both?
Both.
2 projects. That's
I
huge.
I didn't get that, okay.
Yeah. That was the consensus that the selection panel arrived at.
Wow, that's big.
It is huge. That's why we have to.
Although I have to say, I was listening to the tapes earlier this morning, and Robert made an incredibly important point at one of our meetings. He said, if there isn't anything at the sponge docks, then the story has not been changed. It's still the Greek diver, period, the end. So that's valid.
Well, I think the hook, as it were, for this project is the very, very unique history of Tarpon Springs, because, it was one of the few areas where different cultures and ethnic groups came together for the benefit of everybody. The sponge hookers were making a good living doing what they were doing. When the helmeted Greek sponge divers arrived, they upped the ante with, the volume of sponges they were producing, and the Afro-Caribbean sponge hookers started working in one capacity or another with the Greeks. So, you had a symbiotic relationship, and I know Milton said that he was in Tarpon Springs with his uncle, and they walked into a restaurant, and his uncle spoke fluent Greek, and he didn't even realize it until, his uncle started, ordering stuff in a Greek restaurant. So it's a very, very unique story, and, I like to use what Bill mentioned before. It kind of checks a lot of boxes, which I think will make, applying for grants kind of interesting. I think that we might stand a chance of getting some, significant financial support from other agencies that would, create a really, meaningful, huge project. So, it's taking on a lot, but I would rather take on something that's significant and fail than to just putter along doing nothing.
You mentioned the call to artists. Will we see that in July maybe, or?
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to have one more meeting of the selection panel, which is going to be toward the end of June, so we should have something for July. And once the committee here hammers everything out and approves it, then it goes to Miss Diane to be put out there.
The cafe.
Yes.
Where's
David?
the Union Academy neighborhood?
It's Martin Luther King, and do you know where the CAP Center is? On Martin Luther King?
Just
It's a little east of the bike trail.
like a Safford.
Do you travel? Mark?
Okay,
Do you travel down MLK?
right,
Okay,
yes, ma'am.
if you're going toward 19, it would be on your left. And it's a
Okay.
big building, and it has, I think it has Union Academy,
Right,
sign.
there's a
Okay.
parking lot and
It's
like a
right
little
next to an old
stucco
church.
building.
Okay, I thought it was a church there.
Yeah, it's next to the old church.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So would this art be in front of it, or at the roadside, or is it just open?
Probably on the corner, and I have to confirm, because it's got to be on city property. So I have to confirm what part of that property belong to the city. There might be something actually over on, across the street from the CAT parking lot.
So it have to be some, on the easement somewhere?
Right,
Okay.
so we've got a challenge in front of us. Okay. Lucianne, discussion on the timeline to review new unsolicited artist proposals.
Yes. Thank you, Diane, Marissa, for putting these new versions together.
You're welcome.
There were a couple of things that, again, the acoustics in here don't fit my ears, but I think,
anybody's.
looking at the projects greater than $1,000, I think we decided to have these not have a deadline. So that below the artist's name, address, email address, we have the deadline there.
Okay,
And I think that needs to be deleted on both forms.
okay.
Same line of thinking on the approval process. Your proposal will be reviewed by the PAC at the meeting following submission, and then cross out deadline. And then maybe add a line that Diane stated last meeting, which is that she needs it 1 week before. Does that make sense? That's the same on both forms. Then the other thought I had was, instead of attaching the whole master plan, maybe we could just have a map showing where our projects are now, because one of our criteria is to have them outside of that area. And on the same page as the map, have the list of locations that starts at the bottom of page 6 in the master plan. Do you all have that handy?
Okay.
Yeah, at the bottom of page 6, it says, the Public Art Committee has identified the following locations, blah, 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 and then continued on page 7, there are those bullets.
Right, got it.
So just that information, plus one of our GIS maps. And then if we wanted, we could have a link to the whole master plan so that they aren't wading through 14 pages just to find
Right,
the information that really matters to them.
it's a very good idea.
That would be my
Yep.
only comments.
Okay, I only have one comment under the approval process. a formal contract will be provided, and I think we should insert by the city attorney. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think adding that adds a little gravitas to the fact that this is, getting the contract's kind of a big deal. Any other comments? Do I hear a motion to accept?
I make a motion to accept.
Trish, second. Bill? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any dissent? It's adopted. Lucianne, thank you for your work on this.
You're welcome.
Okay, now, since I've jumped all over the place here. Okay. New business, are there any additions to the agenda for the July 14th meeting? I don't think there were any new, but I think we're gonna, reconsider the field projects. The illuminated art boxes will have the accepted images for that.
Has there been any further discussion about the lights on Safford, if they're okay for?
Glad you brought that up. We went round and round about getting all the specs from, from the original manufacturer and everything, and weights and that sort of thing, and some quotes. One of the things that Tom Functions people have determined is that those poles that y'all would like to put them on are not gonna work. They're too light, and they're actually designed, like if a car were to hit them, to actually break away. So, for safety reasons. So, he said, what we could do is get our own poles that could go close by those for the electricity, if we want to put them near those poles to, go ahead and, but we'd be installing an extra pole that would be, heavy duty.
Yeah. That wouldn't be very attractive.
Yeah,
You-
well, do you wanna,
Add more poles.
right, do you wanna,
I'll continue to look for other locations or
okay, so that should be added to the
July.
July agenda, be for, alternative locations.
And they're probably the same lights that are down at Craig Park too. I'll double check that.
Yeah, they're like the short ones,
Shorter
yeah, they all
ones
look
with the-
alike. Because I've been looking at them too, and, yeah, they are very much alike. But you'll see that they have a different pole for all the signs, like the stop signs and everything. It's a totally different pole that they have them on. It's thinner, so, I don't know, it's like, I guess when you're driving around, just look for areas that even if there's no pole there now,
That would,
you
it'd be
could put
okay
one
to
up
place
that's
it.
non-intrusive, kind of thing, but high enough so that, people can still see them from a
Yeah,
distance.
I wouldn't want to see them back to back with the poles that we have on Safford. I mean, if they were freestanding, it would be different, but, too close, it's gonna look like we added a pole to the pole.
All right,
Let me ask you this, I mean, I know that the Pinellas Trail is county property, right? But don't we have a strip?
I believe that the sidewalks belong to Tarpon, it's the center median that's county.
Because what if you put them along the trail, but on the city property? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, they can't go on the center median. They'd have to go,
That, on the sidewalks is where
Right.
we were looking, yeah.
right,
I'll take another
okay.
look at it.
And you may want to talk to Tom about the poles. Find out exactly what they would entail and, what they would look like. They might, just aluminum or,
They'd be very similar to the ones that were probably placed down at the sponge docks.
One of the things our guys had also mentioned is that if you do decide to reorder new ones, that you might ask him to up the illumination that's inside. They said it's very low voltage, so that, you know, it could probably be increased a little bit to even be brighter if you want.
Okay,
So, just for future reference.
okay, yeah, because it's, I was surprised when I saw it, when they were delivered to, one came to Diane's office. And basically, it's just this tiny little strip of LED lights that go around the metal frame. And that provides all the illumination.
For both sides.
Yeah. So,
Maybe
Right.
even some type of variable adjustment to where it can be turned up or down.
yeah, like a rheostat type of situation.
Yeah, some, that has like a notch to where it's like click, click,
Right.
click, you know, so it's not, they're not all different. It'll
Yeah.
have,
Because I know some of them, some of the ones on the sponge docks and the existing ones almost look washed out. It's almost like they're too bright.
It'll be interesting when you put the new artwork in them to see if that's still the case, or is
Right.
it the artwork,
Yeah,
you know?
so,
So are you going to look at these, and are you going to vote on them next meeting, or are you going to send them to me before and let me compile them?
they should be compiled for the next meeting, folks, I think, yeah. We can do
Okay.
it, yeah.
Do you all have the ability to do that?
Well, we could just send you a list of the numbers. They're all numbered.
That's so smart. It's late. I've been with my,
That's why I numbered them.
my littles too much.
Yeah, I think some of these images are really nice.
I agree.
Are we
So-
gonna see, something we can put on the computer that would make the images a little brighter? or
Diane,
nicer? Can we
could
do
you
that?
email, I think I did the PDF of the, because I did them in a PowerPoint and then saved it as a PDF, and I think that's manageable, isn't it?
Which one? These?
Yeah, so that
These
they're
were
almost full
These
screen.
came to me all in one long film strip.
Right, but they're almost full
big?
screen. Yeah,
Big, big. Okay, so you want the big one, okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
you email
sure.
that to Trish, so does anybody, might as well send it to everybody.
I'll email that to everybody, then you could see a larger version of it.
That helps,
Okay.
yeah.
So, all right, this is the tough one, folks. Motion to
Lucy-
adjourn.
Lucy has it.
Oh, Lucianne, I'm sorry.
I just looked at my notes, and I apologize. I want to go back to the unsolicited art
Oh,
projects.
certainly.
And this is a question really for Diane. Once this is all done and posted on the website, is it possible to do an email blast to everybody you would normally send to on a call for artists? And I don't know who's included on that, just to let them know that we have updated our
Sure.
process and there are new applications?
Sure. Yeah, we don't really have a list, but I think what I'll do, what we do have now is, because of the illuminated art boxes, we have a lot of emails from artists. So what we can do is send that to them too, you know, and just keep that list growing, you know, so.
That, I think that would be great. One of my ideas when I started working on this was that the applications we've been getting are really from people who are kind of in the loop. And I suspect a lot of artists out there don't even know that we have this option available for proposing projects. So this might be a good opportunity to say, you know, we have this process and here's a link to the website for the application forms.
And one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting with this one, we did not limit it to just Tarpon Springs artists. We kind of did a larger call out. And they came from a lot of different places, and I thought that was kind of interesting. And I was almost curious to find out, you know, where they saw it. And it could be, you know, one artist shares it with another, that, you know, it's like,
Right,
here,
right.
yeah. But,
That is interesting. Yeah, I noticed you sent me the
yeah, a lot of different ones.
list of, yeah. Okay, any other comments, questions? Lucianne, motion to adjourn?
You bet.
Second? Unanimous.
Lucianne,
Oh,
before you leave, Lucianne, would you just come and look at this real quick? All right. Sure, thank you.
The Coast Guard Auxiliary, we had this guy Stan
Working on
Balkus.
that the entire time.
There was a guy named Stan
Looking at 'em.
Balkus in my Coast Guard Auxiliary flotilla.
This is
and
awesome
whenever
what
at
you
the end of the
did
meeting,
with,
He just
Oh,
said,
thank you.
Stan, motion to adjourn.
Hate to, if you get a minute to ask Tom if they're planning on
Yeah.
rebuilding those buildings.
I definitely-
Resurfacing them.
What?
yeah, what upgrades are gonna be done and what time frame?
Oh, I've been sitting here trying to get
East
myself
side of Sizzler
warm.
looks amazing.
Oh,
Yeah, that's great to
Looks
know.
great, yeah.
Yeah, I
The
can-
day I was out there, they were doing tree work, and I couldn't get over there.
Oh, okay.
It was like,
Had it closed off.
I'm getting out.
I'm gonna run down.
exactly. I just wanna make sure that I got all your
I'm gonna
edits.
give
You wanna
you
go
lunch
then?
if
Are we
Oh, okay.
doing,
That's
Tustin
easy.
Sun or-
Yeah.
That's
the other
easy.
one? Okay.
However you
I think
wanna
Jean's
say
gonna
it
meet us.
before.
Where is that?
Okay.
Where do you have that one?
I'm gonna leave.
Oh.